What if the plants most people ignore were once the difference between continuing and not being able to go on? Not rare discoveries, not something hidden, just simple plants used in real moments when strength was low, when the body needed support, and when people had very little to rely on. And what's surprising is that many of those same plants are still here today, seen every day, understood by almost no one. Stay with me, because plant number 6 was used in situations where something needed to stop, quickly. Plant number 12 was turned to when the body felt heavy and breathing needed support. And plant number 20 is something people still use today without fully understanding what it was originally trusted for. If this kind of knowledge interests you, take a second and like the video so more people can find it. And as you watch, I want to know, which plant surprises you the most? Write it below. And if you want more content like this simple, real knowledge that still matters, subscribe and stay connected. Because once you start noticing these things, you don't see them the same way again. Plant 1, prickly pear, when water was not easy to find. In dry, harsh environments where water was limited and the sun was constant, there was a plant that stood quietly in the background, prickly pear. Covered in spines, often avoided at first glance, it didn't look like something valuable. But people who understood it knew exactly what it offered. Inside its thick pads and fruit, there was moisture. Not just a small amount, but enough to make a difference when conditions were difficult. When people were exposed to heat for long periods, when dehydration became a real concern, this plant was carefully prepared. The outer layer would be handled with caution to remove the spines, and inside, the flesh could be consumed. It wasn't just about hydration, it also provided nutrients that helped the body maintain stability. In places where resources were limited, this wasn't just a plant you noticed, it was one you relied on. Even today, prickly pear is used in various parts of the world, and research has explored its role in supporting hydration and metabolic balance. It didn't look important at first, but in the right moment, it made a real difference. Plant 2, fireweed, when the skin needed support. After land had been disturbed, after fire, after disruption, one of the first plants to return was fireweed. Growing across open fields and recovering land, it became a familiar sight in regions like North America. But its presence wasn't just about nature recovering. People recognized that fireweed had value for the body, especially when the skin needed support. When irritation appeared, when the skin had been exposed to harsh conditions, this plant was used carefully. The leaves could be prepared or applied in ways that helped calm and support the skin. It wasn't complicated, it was observed. People saw how it responded, and they remembered. Modern research has explored its anti-inflammatory properties, helping explain why it was used in situations involving skin stress. It grew where damage had already happened, and was used in moments when the body needed to recover from it. Plant 3, cleavers, when the body needed to move again. Cleavers is a plant that grows in hedgerows, fields, and woodland edges, often clinging to anything it touches with small hook-like hairs. Many people brush it aside without thinking, but those who understood it saw something different. It was used when the body felt heavy, slow, or not moving the way it should internally. When the system needed support to regain flow and balance, Cleavers was prepared as a tea or simple infusion. It didn't act aggressively. It worked gradually. People didn't expect immediate change. They used it over time, allowing the body to respond in its own way. This made it especially valuable in situations where balance had been disrupted and needed to be restored without force. Modern herbal understanding connects Cleavers to lymphatic support, aligning with how it was traditionally used. It wasn't about quick results, it was about helping the body function the way it was meant to. Plant 4, Devil's Club, when strength needed to be rebuilt. Deep in the forests of the Pacific Northwest, growing in cold, dense environments, there's a plant covered in sharp spines, known as Devil's Club. It's not something you approach casually. Even touching it requires care. But people who lived in these regions didn't ignore it, they understood it. The inner bark of the plant was the part used, and it was prepared carefully, often as a decoction. It wasn't something taken lightly. It was used in situations where the body needed deeper support. when strength felt low, when recovery was slow, and when the system needed something more than surface-level help. It wasn't a quick solution. It was used with intention. People didn't experiment with this plant. They relied on knowledge passed down over time. Today, research is beginning to explore its role in supporting metabolic and immune-related functions, giving insight into why it was valued. It wasn't easy to handle, but in the right moment, it was worth the effort. Plant 5. Sweet Wormwood Artemisia, when something needed to be addressed directly. Sweet wormwood grows in warm regions and has been used across different cultures for a very specific reason. It has a strong, distinct taste, something that immediately tells you this plant is not mild. People turned to it when the body needed a direct response. It wasn't used casually or frequently. It was used in moments where something needed to be addressed more intentionally. The leaves were typically prepared as a tea or extract, allowing its compounds to work within the body. It required awareness, not just use. Modern science has studied Artemisia annua extensively, identifying compounds that have been explored in global medical research, which shows that its traditional use was far from random. It wasn't a plant for everyday use. It was used when something needed attention. Plant 6. Shepherd's purse, when something had to stop. Shepherd's purse grows in fields, roadsides, and open land across many parts of the world. It's small, easy to miss, and often overlooked completely. But those who understood it knew exactly when to use it. It was relied on in situations where something needed to stop, particularly when the body required control and stabilization. The plant would be prepared as a tea or applied in specific ways depending on the situation. It wasn't dramatic, it was precise. People didn't use it randomly, they used it when timing mattered. That's what gave it value. Modern herbal understanding connects shepherd's purse with hemostatic properties, helping explain why it was used in those situations. It wasn't about strength, it was about control at the right moment. Plant 7. Lamb's quarters, when food itself became support. Lamb's quarters grow almost everywhere: fields, gardens, disturbed soil. Most people see it as a weed and remove it without thinking, but in earlier times, it was something else entirely. It was used as food, but not just for filling the stomach. It provided nutrients the body needed when options were limited. The leaves were cooked or added to meals, offering support when strength needed to be maintained. It wasn't rare. It wasn't difficult to find. And that's exactly why it mattered. Modern nutrition has shown that lamb's quarters contains a wide range of vitamins and minerals, explaining why it supported the body in times when resources were low. It didn't stand out, but it helped people keep going. Plant 8. Wood sorrel, when the body needed refreshing. Wood sorrel grows in shaded areas, forests, and even gardens with small clover-like leaves and a naturally sour taste. It's a plant many people have seen but rarely recognize. It was used in moments when the body felt tired, overheated, or lacking energy. The leaves could be eaten fresh, providing a refreshing effect along with natural minerals that help support the body. People didn't prepare it in complicated ways, they simply used it as it was, especially when something light and quick was needed. Its sour taste wasn't just flavor, it signaled that it could help the body feel more alert and balanced. It wasn't a heavy solution, but in the right moment, it helped the body feel more stable again. Plant 9. Purslane, strength from a plant most people ignore. Purslane grows low to the ground in warm climates, often in places people don't pay attention to. Sidewalk edges, gardens, and open soil. It looks simple, almost unimportant, but it was used as a food that supported the body in a real way. The leaves and stems were eaten fresh or lightly cooked, providing nutrients and natural oils that helped maintain strength. When people didn't have access to a variety of foods, plants like this made a difference. Modern research has shown that purslane contains omega fatty acids and important nutrients, which explains why it supports the body over time. It didn't look valuable, but it was there when it was needed. Plant 10. Yellow dock root, when the body needed internal support. Yellow dock grows in fields and open land, recognized by its tall stalks and deep roots. While the leaves are visible, it's the root that was used. It was prepared as a decoction, allowing its compounds to work gradually within the body. People relied on it when digestion felt slow, when the body needed internal support, and when balance had been disrupted. It wasn't fast. It wasn't aggressive. It worked over time, helping the body function more effectively from within. That's why it was used consistently, rather than occasionally. Modern herbal understanding connects it with digestive and liver support, aligning with how it was traditionally used. It wasn't about immediate change. It was about helping the body work properly again. Plant 11. Marshmallow Root. Gentle support when the body was sensitive. Marshmallow root grows in moist environments, near water sources, with soft leaves and pale flowers. It's a plant known for its soothing properties. The root was typically dried and prepared as a tea or infusion. When the body felt irritated or sensitive, especially internally, this plant was used to provide gentle support. It didn't force change. It calmed. People used it when the body needed something it could accept easily, without resistance. That made it valuable in situations where stronger plants would be too much. Modern research has confirmed its soothing effects, especially for the digestive system. It wasn't strong in the usual sense, but it supported the body when gentleness was needed. Plant 12. Elecampane, when breathing needed support. Elecampane grows in open fields and produces tall stems with bright yellow flowers. Its root has a long history of use, especially for supporting the chest and breathing. The root was typically dried and prepared as a tea or syrup. It was used when the body felt heavy, when breathing was not clear, and when something needed to be cleared out gradually. People relied on it not for immediate relief, but for steady support over time. It helped the body do what it needed to do, rather than forcing a quick result. Modern studies have explored its role in respiratory support, helping explain why it was used in these situations. It wasn't about speed. It was about helping the body clear what it couldn't on its own. Plant 13. Anise Hyssop, when the body needed calm and breath support. Anise Hyssop grows in open fields and gardens, producing soft purple flowers with a light, naturally sweet aroma. At first, it doesn't look like a strong plant, but people who understood it knew its role very well. It was used when the body felt unsettled, when breathing wasn't fully comfortable, or when the system felt slightly off and needed gentle support. The leaves were usually prepared as a warm tea, allowing the body to absorb its natural compounds slowly. People didn't use it for urgent situations. They used it when the body needed calm, when breathing needed to feel easier, and when internal tension needed to settle without force. What made it valuable was its balance. It didn't overwhelm the body. It supported it gradually. That's why it was used repeatedly, not just once. Modern herbal understanding connects Anise Hyssop with mild respiratory and calming support, which aligns with how it was traditionally used. It wasn't strong in a dramatic way, but it helped the body return to a more stable state. Plant 14. Celandine, a plant that required awareness. Celandine grows in shaded areas and produces small yellow flowers. It's not a plant that stands out immediately, but those who used it understood something important. It wasn't for casual use. The plant produces a bright orange sap when broken, and this sap was traditionally applied in very specific situations, especially for external use on the skin. It wasn't consumed freely, and people approached it with caution. It was used when something needed to be addressed directly, but carefully. This wasn't a plant for general support. It had a focused purpose. Because of its strength, it required knowledge. People didn't experiment with it. They followed what had already been learned and passed down. Modern research has studied its active compounds and confirmed that it has strong biological effects, which explains why it was never used casually. It wasn't a plant for everyday use. It was one that demanded understanding before use. Plant 15. Chaga Mushroom, strength from the forest. Chaga grows on birch trees in cold climates, forming a dark, rough mass on the bark. At first glance, it doesn't even look like something useful. It looks like part of the tree itself. But people who lived in these regions recognized it. It was used when the body needed long-term support, especially in harsh conditions where maintaining strength was essential. The mushroom was typically dried and prepared as a tea, allowing its compounds to be slowly absorbed. People didn't use it for immediate results. They used it consistently, understanding that its value came over time. Modern research has identified antioxidants and compounds in chaga that support the body's natural defense systems, which aligns with how it was traditionally used. It didn't act quickly, but it supported the body in a way that lasted. Plant 16. Cordyceps Mushroom. Energy when the body was drained. Cordyceps grows in high-altitude regions, often in very challenging environments. It's a rare and unusual organism, traditionally collected in mountainous areas. It became known for supporting energy and endurance. People used it when the body felt completely drained, when strength needed to return, and when physical performance had dropped. It was typically prepared as a powder or extract, allowing the body to absorb it over time. It wasn't used once, it was used as part of a process. What made it valuable was not instant energy, but sustained support. It helped the body rebuild and maintain performance over time. Modern studies have explored its role in energy metabolism and oxygen use, which explains why it was relied on in demanding conditions. It wasn't about a quick boost, it was about restoring energy in a lasting way. Plant 17. Ashitaba, a plant known for constant renewal. Ashitaba grows in coastal regions of Japan, where the environment is constantly changing. What makes this plant unique is how quickly it regenerates. When a leaf is cut, a new one begins to grow almost immediately. People noticed this and connected it to how it supported the body. It was used as a daily plant, often consumed fresh or prepared as tea, especially when the body needed ongoing support rather than a quick fix. It became known for helping maintain strength over time, particularly in communities where long-term health was important. The yellow sap inside the plant was also recognized and used carefully, as people believed it carried the most active compounds. Modern research has explored its antioxidant and metabolic support properties, helping explain why it was used consistently rather than occasionally. It wasn't about solving one problem. It was about supporting the body continuously. Plant 18. Sea buckthorn, when the body needed repair. Sea buckthorn grows in harsh environments, cold regions, rocky soil, and areas where most plants struggle to survive. Despite this, it produces bright orange berries packed with nutrients. People used it when the body needed repair, especially for the skin and internal tissues. The berries and their oil were prepared and used carefully, often taken internally or applied externally depending on the need. It became known for supporting recovery when the body had been exposed to stress, dryness, or long-term strain. Modern research has shown that sea buckthorn contains a rare combination of fatty acids and antioxidants, which supports its traditional use. It didn't just support the body, it helped it recover. Plant 19. Gotu Kola, clarity and recovery over time. Gotu Kola grows in moist environments, often near water, with small round leaves. It has been used for centuries in different cultures for supporting mental clarity and recovery. People turned to it when the mind felt slow, when focus was needed, and when the body required steady recovery. It was usually consumed as a tea or fresh plant, allowing gradual absorption. It wasn't about immediate change, it worked over time. People used it consistently, understanding that its value came from regular use rather than a single moment. Modern studies have explored its effects on cognitive function and circulation, supporting its traditional role. It didn't act quickly, but it helped the body and mind stay clear over time. Plant 20. Shou Wu, long-term strength and preservation. Shou Wu grows in mountainous regions and has a long history of use, especially for maintaining strength over time. The root is the part that was used, typically prepared carefully before consumption. People didn't turn to this plant for immediate results. They used it for long-term support, when maintaining energy, resilience, and overall strength became important. It was often taken regularly, not occasionally, because its value was in consistency. Modern research has explored its role in supporting vitality and long-term physiological balance, helping explain why it was used for extended periods. It wasn't about quick results. It was about preserving strength over time. These plants weren't discovered overnight. They understood, slowly, used carefully, and remembered for a reason. And even now, they're still here, growing in places most people ignore. The only difference is, people stopped recognizing their value. If you made it this far, you've seen something most people never take the time to learn. So tell me which plant surprised you the most. Write it in the comments. I read them all. And if you want more videos like this, real knowledge that still matters today, subscribe and stay connected. Because once you start noticing these things, you don't see them the same way again.